Investors. Hope you are doing well. It is another episode of Note Night in America. As always, Scott Carson is here to help you answer your questions and help you take your note investing to another level. Hopefully, you are doing well. It is as we get to the end of 2023. I have been today alone 4 or 5 phone calls with investors looking for ways to buy notes, and they're looking at what's in their checking or savings account and like, oh, I only can buy the 50 or 100 grand that I got. And I'm like, no, there's so much other ways to find and use other people's money and capital out there. And so that's what we want to do. If you are joining us here in Note Night in America, hey, welcome. Marks the 13th year, coming on 14 year of us doing these conference calls on Monday night. Make sure to ask your questions in the chat roll. Make sure to answer them. Whether you're watching this live or catching the replay, we are here to help you take your note in real estate investing to a whole different level. We do have an upcoming class this coming weekend, December 8th, 9th, and 10th. If you're watching this after that, you can still go and get signed up for the next class that we'll host probably in the live class we'll host in February or in March. So you can go to notebuyingfordummies.com for that, and we'll walk you through that. But anyway, if you stay around to the very end, I'll give you a little bit of a discount code. How's that sound for you? But you will definitely want to take some notes tonight. We've got some great stuff here. Kudos. The last one we did, the 20 ways to find notes. Boom. A huge amount of views. Thank you for watching. Great comments. And I saw that a lot of folks like that. So that's why we brought the second half of what we did with a 20-day note investing challenge a couple of years ago is, hey, let's share the different ways that we find funding or find funds to fund your deals, whether it's notes or real estate investing. This is be valuable if you're going to be an investor of any sort. Don't just look at what's in your account. Realize there's so much money out there. You just got to know where to go. And we'll show you how to find that stuff. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's get rock and rolling on tonight's webinar or tonight's episode if you're listening to this on the podcast. So there's a whole different way, like ways that we use or things that we use to raise capital, just a ton of stuff here. And I'm going to go through these individually for you so you have the opportunity. But if you want to do a screen share or snap the screen image, there you go. Here's kind of what we'll be discussing tonight on tonight's webinar, from case studies and email blasts, the appraisals to county clerk to meetup groups, all sorts of great things for you to use to raise capital. Now, we'll try to go through most of these individually a little bit more. You may have some more questions. So if you have some questions that I don't specifically answer, feel free to type that in the chat roll and we'll try to make sure to answer that for you. Okay. But the first thing, the strongest and number one thing that you can do as a real estate investor is use case studies to help you find funds. And what does a case study do? Well, it really tells the story and it sells the bam. You remember Emerald Lagasse, right? Emerald, bam, with the flavor. You got to know the numbers on the story, but that's what a case study does. It shares a good picture of the property. It tells the story. What's going on? People don't want to just look at a spreadsheet. They don't just want to look at a picture. What's this mean? Tell the story. I often like to say, hey, using a video is better, but use an image. And you need a good image, good street view or selfie or something. If you don't have a good image, because it's a rural asset, you might want to use another photo of a property there. But it's pretty easy for you to, especially if you're going out to different networking groups and stuff like that, take the time, create you a one-page flyer. We use case studies in our classes, in our direct mail marketing to IRA investors, when we go to networking groups or conferences. Go into canva.com and keep it simple, stupid. That's KISS. The deal details and the numbers, a short paragraph about what happened with the asset. Hey, we bought this non-performing note at 50 cents on the dollar. It took us 6 months to work it out, get the borrower back on track. They paid on time for a year or two, or it took us a year to foreclose, whatever. But create that in Canva, because you can create that not only as a document that you can print, but also as an image that you can share to all your social media accounts. And then I like to take, like I said, take your phone, flip it around, talk about the deal through the technology you use, Facebook Lives or TikTok or Instagram. Do a short little deal study about it and throw it online. Or create, like one of our students is doing deals of the week, and he's basically just taking a three to five slide PowerPoint slide. One's his image of his logo and what it is. The last page is his contact. So he's 3 guts of the PowerPoint, 1 about picture of the property, 2 about how he found it, what he did, and 3 is the workout solution. Doesn't have to be long. I mean, we've done deal case studies where 2 slides. just get in the habit of sharing your success, or sharing, if you don't have a lot of deals, use other people's deals. Hey, these are the types of deals that we'll be doing. And of course, if you're going through our 3-day workshop, you've seen that we share several case studies. If you're part of our WC and Career Monthly membership, you'll see us share all sorts of case studies with you as well. But that's going to be the proof is in the pudding aspect of it. Okay. And you can see we've done, like, this is a great image of Maurice Walter. He did a San Antonio note deal. He did a three-minute video on it where he just basically talked over the PowerPoint of what he's doing. Okay. And then this is another example of me doing a PowerPoint slide that we've done in some different deals. We got the address of the property, the details of this, and then a picture of the property. It's actually a screenshot from one of our mastermind deals Laura Blanc did. Okay. 2, you guys know I like to work smarter. Like, it's a 21st century versus like it's the 18th century, like most people do. But I think the number 2 way to raise capital is through email blasts, having an email list that you can send out to. And you got to realize that the number of active email users is forecast to reach over 4 billion in 2023. And that number is going to get even more in 2024. 6 billion 293.6 billion emails were sent and received each day. Think about that. The average expected ROI is still $42 to $44 for every dollar you spend on email marketing. Nearly 9 out of every 10 marketers use email marketing to distribute content organically. And that's, if you're one of my coaches, build a list. If you don't have an email list, you can use like LinkedIn newsletters to start off with. But start sending out content on a regular basis about deals that you're working on. Emails with personalized subject lines generate a 50% higher open rate. So that means, hey, Scott, hey, Jim, hey, Laura, check out the deal. And then, of course, take your video, short little video. It'll help you increase your click-through rates by 300%. Most click-through rates were like 0.1%. Well, if you get to 300.3, that's 300% click-through rate. And the average open rates for real estate-focused content is 19%. That's huge. It's like one of the highest open rates. Okay. Of course, the bigger your list, the lower your open rate. We've got a huge database, and we see about a 35 to 40% open rate because we are providing quality content a lot of times. And that's the thing to look at. You also got to keep that in mind. That's only 1 out of 5. 19%, it's less than 20%. So less than 1 out of 5 of your people in your database are opening your emails. Hopefully that number goes up, but that's why you've got to hit them again or send repeat and drip market. And here's the thing. You can see how some of the open rates changes on a day in, day out basis. Obviously drops off Saturday and Sunday or Friday afternoon. This is why I like to send Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And those are actually the better days. The highest open rate's always going to be roughly around 11 a.m. during the week. And when you send your emails out, it's the best time is Tuesday at 10 a.m., Thursday at 8 p.m. before the Friday rolls around, Wednesday at 2 p.m. or the top 3 days. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you'll see that there all throughout the top 12 times to send an email. Nothing on Monday for the most part, or definitely nothing on Friday. Okay. So when people ask me how long should my email be, I always say an emoji is worth at least a few words. Okay. So here's some things to think about. Your subject line length should only be like 1 to 5 words. If you're got a longer title, people aren't seeing it in their phone or their stuff. So keep it simple. If you can substitute an emoji, that saves time. Count characters, not words. Subject line needs to be under 50 characters. And then also write your email for the inbox that you're writing for. If you're sending it to your warm market of investors, like you're writing to a friend. If you're writing to strangers that you really haven't met, then maybe it needs a little bit more professional. But also share about what you're writing about. Hey, here's our latest case study. And then also, like I said, what kind of email is it? Is it professional? Is it something a little bit lighthearted? Is it for the holidays? Data suggests the ideal length of an email is between 15 and 125 words. 50. Think about that. Not long-winded. I don't say write a book. Emails this length had a response rate above 50%. A similar study found emails with approximately 20 lines of text for about 200 words had the highest click-through rate. So that's one thing to look at in your emails. Don't really go beyond 15 to 20 lines of text, depending on how big your font is. Okay. That's one thing I'd look at. I try to keep it below 20 lines of text. Try to get my information out. If I need something longer, have a video that can say it a little bit longer. Okay. Number 3 way to find funds is by going farming, going to your county appraisal districts. If you've been a part of our class, you've heard us talk about this. and tracking down self-directed IRA investors who have bought property. It's really easy to do a search. Okay. Who has used their self-directed IRA to fund a property purchase by just typing in under the owner's name, the equity trust, the Quest Trust, the Pensco. You know, not every county in the country will allow you to search by a name. They won't let you do it in Baltimore or Maryland or Virginia. They won't let you do it in California. Minnesota will also not let you search by name. So on those states, this will not work. But everybody else will let you search by your owner name. And there are 50 plus custodians out there for self-directed IRA companies. You could search all 50. I would hire a VA to do that. But what I like doing is like Equity Trust, Quest Trust, Pensco, New View, Mid-Atlantic, and then knowing other parts of the country where some of these IRA companies are located, they're going to have a higher percentage geographically around their home office. And that's a great place to look depending on where you're looking. You know that they are real estate investors just like you. They have money to invest, and most of this stuff's got to be passively. So they're not going to be active. They're educated about real estate investing, so you don't have to teach them everything about notes or what it is. And guess what? They're looking for deals to fund. Okay. And netraonline.com is gold. This is the website that takes us to every county office in one spot. It doesn't cost you anything. We look on the appraisal districts and then also the county clerk or the county recorder's office. Like I said, most counties you can search by name. Some counties require subscriptions. But don't let this, if you're in a county that requires you to have a subscription, don't let that phase you. Go get the subscription. It's usually pretty cheap, if not free. And you're only required to pay what you actually like will print. Well, if you're not going to print anything, it's basically free. Okay. Like I'll give you a great example. Actually, Baltimore, I have a student in Baltimore. He signed up for the Maryland online thing and is able to literally pull, what did we pull? 66 IRA investors in just a few minutes, whereas most people would have stopped at the subscription request. Okay. And even some counties like in Ohio will literally allow you to hit a button to do an email or a mail download, not an email, but a mailing list download, what makes it easy for you to do a mail merge. Okay. And then what you do, look at the people's names on there, contact them. If you can skip trace them, find an email address, great. If not, jump on, send them a mail postcard or a letter, jump on socials, see if they got a unique name. You can find them on LinkedIn or Facebook and send them a message directly there. You'd be surprised how easy that kind of works sometimes. And like I said, this is the only direct mail that we actually send out, postcards and letters to IRA investors. And once you've sent it out, you really don't need to send it out anymore because you've built a good list of investors who have either contacted you or they've opted into your database. That you just drip market, send them an email versus a postcard every month. Okay. Number 4 is a very common thing. People like doing this now, so more so than they did pre-COVID, is the networking. Okay. Obviously, we've had a whole lot of less in-person networking. There are more Zoom and virtual events that we've seen. I've even seen a lot more BNI groups that are just Zoom focused, which is fine. But what I would do, I highly, all my coaches should say, go get you a Calendly account, Calendly, and then go buy you an URL that says like, talk with Scott Carson, talk with Darlene Root, chat with Stephanie, whatever it might be, but create an easy link that it's easy for you to give to people so they can book a call with you. Like it's easy to share with your crowd, post it somewhere, post it on your LinkedIn so people can connect and book a call with you. Like I said, mine, talkwithscottcarson.com. It's a lead gen now. I get people that opt into that. Today alone, 5 new people in my database reaching out to me from videos and stuff like that, but they booked a call on my Calendly link and now they're in my database and we'll be doing stuff with them. Put in your email signature, your Zoom name, social media. Put it out there so people can book with it. Okay. I also use LinkedIn search to network with investors all across the country, and I've leveraged octopuscrm.io to help me grow my LinkedIn and on my online networking from 6,000 people to 30,000 plus people on LinkedIn. And Octopus, if you pay for the higher version of it, you can get up to like 75 to 100 people a day. But think about that. That's 100 people a day, and you do that 20 days out of the week, Monday through Friday. That's 2,000 people you can add to your database potentially in a month. Okay. Think about in-person networking. If you know the in-person and you know the president and stuff like that, I would go up and ask the person that's leading the network, hey, who should I talk to here? This is what I do. Is there anybody you would recommend I talk to? But don't be a time vampire. Okay. Go in with a plan of action. Be respectful of people's time. Don't be one of those people that clings on. If somebody's not interested, let them go and move on to somebody else. That's the best thing I can do. Okay. Yes, I'm still a proponent of business cards. I still take business cards when I go any place. I was just at a financial conference in New Orleans about a month and a half ago, and I was surprised how few people have business cards. But it's the new, you're using those digital cards or social media, and that's fine. But business cards are still a great way to get rocking and rolling for you. All right, so yeah, and here's the thing: on your business card, put your face on it so they see. Remember who it's from. One company only. If you're a jack of trades or doing multiple things, it looks bad. And spend some money on making it look good. It's a good first impression that people can take with you. And hey, this card looks nice versus that whole print at home with a jagged edge. Okay. And I always like to, when I get a business card from somebody, send them an email, especially after a conference. If we've collected business cards, we're putting the thing we're doing before we wrap it up for the day, wrap up for the night, especially before the event is over, is putting everybody into a spreadsheet, upload it into our email, and get an email out to them saying, hey, it was nice to meet you. Or here, what's a little about me. And then add them to your database so you can market to them on a regular basis. And there are some great tools like Evernote or different card scans you can use on your cell phone that will scan a card and goes direct into your LinkedIn or direct into your database. Okay. And you got to realize collecting a bunch of business cards only works well if you email people. If you just collect the business cards, a lot of those emails are bad after 6 months and they fade away. They're gone. So don't keep a shoebox under your bed with business cards. Get rid of them, go out and burn them. Most of them are going to be bad, but get in the habit of being reactive. If somebody gives you a card, send an email to me. It was nice meeting you, nice networking with you, and going from there. It's one thing that we're really, really good at, and it's helped us continue that touch and really, I don't want to say get more out of networking events, but really do get more. We build more relationships going forward. I had somebody today actually Sunday email me or send me a message on Facebook. I haven't talked to in 15 years, but he's followed me. We did a mortgage, or we were at a mortgage event years ago. He kept my card. He was in my email, and he reached out to me with a question about mortgages and notes, which is kind of funny. But it just shows that networking and staying in touch helps. If you don't email somebody, guess what? They're going to forget about you. This leads me to the next thing. 5 is conferences. I attend less conferences this year than I usually do. I used to go to a lot of conferences and network with people, but when you go to a lot of the note investing conferences, it's the same people. So I don't go to I try to go to stuff that's going to be a little bit more new faces. Like I go to FinCon, gone to Podcast Movement, Podfest, because those are great places to meet people, especially at FinCon that are in the finance industry. But going to conferences like your Texas Real Estate Expo or your Mortgage Banking Association is a good one. If you're a realtor going to NAR, you can also, here's the thing that I like to do. If I can't make it to an event, I like to look at what keywords or hashtags that a conference is using, and then I will use those keywords or hashtags on social media search to see who's posting from that event. And then I can even reach out to them as well, or I can do social media and just say, hey, we didn't get a chance to meet the event, but I'd love to talk with you. Now, sometimes events will actually list like the attendee list. Not really. Some will list. We've seen that in some of the banking, but some will list like the company name and the job title, who's showing up, and that's an easy, having your VA spend some time on LinkedIn to do the job title and the company name, and you can find the people. Okay. It also doesn't hurt to pay to be the sponsor of an event, with the caveat that you get the attendee list. If you're going to sponsor something, make sure it's worthwhile. Make sure you get the attendee list. If they're not going to give you the attendee list or allow for you to harvest the list from some, it's not going to be worth your time. Okay. We've done a booth, whether it was a breakout, a lunch break, or a happy hour, or coffee. Most of the time we've done a booth. Sometimes we negotiate where we can send an email blast out to the attendee list before the event to try to book meetings ahead of time, or do a survey. If I'm going somewhere, I want to have my own speaking session, not necessarily a panel, but a speaking session where I can speak and be the keynote, which works well for me to record it or to live stream it as well. Of course, we do giveaways. We require business cards opt-in, and also to text message opt-ins. If somebody wants to get my slides or connect with me, they can text the word notes to 72,000 or text opt in using a capture or QR code to connect with us. But conferences, we've built a huge database over years from going to conferences and attending. Just be smart. Don't be the person that goes and doesn't network. It's not it's a bad use of time. I've been to conferences where I've seen people show up like for a minute and they're busy up on their hotel room working. I'm like, you need to be down here networking. I get it if you are doing two things, but especially after hours, get down to the happy hour. And even sometimes two conferences don't pay to go to the conference. Go find out where their happy hour is and go hang out at the bar in the hotel. That's some of the events that raise capital. You want to look for that have more than 100 people and look at the speaker lineup. If they get a good speaker lineup, great. I will tell you this, promoters will lie about the attendance. Okay. There's a private lending summit that says, oh, it's a private lending expo, something like that. It's always down in like Atlantic City. And they say they got like 2,000 attendees. Well, they really have like 100 attendees. They've had 2,000 attendees since they started, but it's a smaller amount. Okay. And probably half the attendees are vendors. What you could also do with like big events, like around like the EXP or the Keller Williams, like family reunions, you could literally like geo-target through like social media and how to target people within 2 miles of the hotel or conference center and have them have something show up on their social media. We've done that before. That's been useful. Like $20 per day on Facebook or Instagram with an opt-in link to get a free report or something about that would be add value to them while you're there. It's so worth it. For like, events that you'd go to, you could go to like in the note industry, there's the Note Expo, there's IMN, there's the Noteworthy. Some of your paper source is probably the better of these events. IMN, I wouldn't necessarily go to raise capital. You can find more notes there. We have Note Camp usually every year. That's a good event to network with people. They'll do a survey and provide that survey to our audience. So it's a great way to network with people that way too. But there's plenty of other real estate 5-star, Keller Williams, the Mortgage Bank Association, Western Secondary. There's a lot of stuff out there. NAR, your state mortgage banking association, all sorts of stuff. For marketing, we like to go to, like in the past, we've gone to Traffic Conversion Summit, Funnel Hacking Live, Podcast Movement, Podfest. FinCon is another one. It's just phenomenal that I would highly recommend that you go to. Okay. Number 6, another way to find capital is a different switch on what we talked about, the county appraisal district. Well, if you go to the county clerk or the county recorder's office, this will actually show you IRA investors who have used their self-directed IRA to lend, not to buy a property, but to lend. Okay. You can track who's your IRA and who they lend it to by doing a deed search and looking for equity trust as the grantee, grantor, mortgagee, mortgagor. Same thing. Equity trust, Quest Trust, when you can search by that. Like I said, there's 50 plus self-directed IRA custodians and trustees. You'll be able to, that they're investors, have money to invest, they're educated, they're looking for deals to fund. And what's great about this is every county office can do it in one spot, like Netra Online we talked about. You search the county clerk recording or recorder's office. Some counties will require a subscription. We talked about how valuable that is. In searching by those searches and then doing a document type for the either deed of trust or a release of lien. Okay. And a lot of counties, you can do a download list. It's going to show you, you're going to have to go in and actually look at the document because it's going to tell you who the lender is and who the borrower is. And often tells you how much they lent, which is really kind of a good thing. And same thing, skip tracing, jumping on socials to find those individuals is well worth it. And like I said, we will send a postcard or a direct mail piece out to those lenders, not the borrowers, but the lenders in a lot of cases. All right. Number 7, self-directed IRA events. Most of the self-directed IRA companies out there are looking for clients. So what do? They host networking events. Okay. Whether it's monthly or weekly, sometimes quarterly, sometimes they'll do it online via Zoom, or they'll host in-person events. They may also have Facebook pages, groups, live streams that people will comment on that they broadcast. Some will host large conferences that are good to go to in person. Some will host, like I said, online that you can join virtually. You can network with people. Okay. Usually they'll have, if you go to the big IRA companies, they usually have an annual event in their home state around where they're located. It's worth it to attend a network. I wouldn't necessarily get a booth thing, but I would go and maybe get sponsored something. As long as you can get the attendee list or have something that makes, grab bag or something like that, grab a booth, be a vendor if it's not too expensive. Most of the time it's pretty good. You might even go to your local RIA clubs and pay for a booth to be a vendor there to connect with people. It's a good thing. Okay. The FinCon Expo was in Austin. That was actually 2 years ago. The next one's actually be in Atlanta in October of this next year, and I would check it out. FinConExpo.com. Now, speaking about IRA investors, if you are in an area that doesn't have stuff for your estate, you can actually buy a list of leads. There are companies that you can actually buy a list of people that have an IRA or people that have a 401k list. Okay, you should buy by the company. Exact Data, Melissa Data are two companies that we've used to buy lists from. Well worth it. And you can buy it's if I buy just a general list of IRA investors, or I can say somebody's got a 401k, or I can say, hey, for everybody that works for Halliburton in Harris County, I can do that, or people that are a real estate investor in a specific county. You can literally buy a whole variety of lists out there at all. Even with the IRA investors, you can dictate, hey, I need to make sure that they have 150K or more. And that's a little bit more valuable list. But usually it's about $1,000 per order. They will do smaller amounts now. They've changed some things up. But if you get $1,000 order, it's probably going to be somewhere around 16,000 contacts. Okay. Name, email, address. Sometimes you'll have phone lines up there. And you can also split it up into different counties, different cities. If you want to do it over like a 5-county area or a 5-city area, just be specific on it. You got to be careful about emailing it. They have a kind of an 8 to 15% open rate because these are cold emails. You don't have a warm list. You got to be very careful about uploading a huge list like that into a CRM. I got to hit them, and they're not going to necessarily be self-directed IRA investors that with Quest or Equity Trust. They may just have an IRA with Chase or AG Edwards or any variety of banking institutions. So you may have to do a little more education on how for them to move that money from a bank into a self-directed IRA custodian for real estate or notes. Okay. Number 9 is a list that gets looked over quite a bit is foreclosure lists. People foreclosing on properties are probably going to come into cash and have money available. Okay. There are companies that you can buy foreclosure lists from, and we will find private investors on there, self-directed IRA investors on there. Foreclosure.com is a nationwide list. If you're looking in Texas, foreclosure.info, or that's FLS online as well. CountyRecordsResearch.com does the West Coast and Nevada as well. So those are 3 of the big prominent ones out there. And we'll identify warm leads with banks by the notes that they're foreclosing on, but we'll also look for self-directed IRA investors or people that are names or LLCs that are foreclosing on a property, not the borrowers, but the actual lenders. Okay. And we'll reach out and see if we can't buy the note of the property if interested, but we always like to ask if they're looking for more deals. And we'll also check county appraisal districts to see what else they may own by just doing a name search. What else they own? They have other properties in there, they're an investor, and that's a good way to kind of see if they may have other capital. Number 10 may sound a little simple, but sponsoring events. Being a sponsored event, we've spent anywhere from $500 to like 15 grand to sponsor an event before. And when we sponsor the event, it's got to be a very valuable database, and we want to damn sure we get the attendee list. Okay. And spend a bit of money on this. Sometimes it's pretty cheap and sometimes it's pretty expensive. But if it's if we used to sponsor the REI Expo, and they'd have a couple, 500 to 1,000 people go through that, and it was worth us spending $5 grand a month because it's, if we got 500 people, that's $10 a lead. That's pretty cheap in the finance industry. But everybody, you got to realize, everyone at one of these events, even vendors, fellow speakers, is a funding source for you. Okay. So look at what's going on in your area, your local RIA. You maybe host your own Meetup. Other people hosting events too. It doesn't necessarily need to be real estate related. Maybe it's your Knights of Columbus or your BNI group, whatever it means. Okay. Let's survey the audience for needs, knowledge, and hot buttons, and that would be something to ask of the promoter, the person putting the event on. What's going on? What do they need? What's your audience about? Like I say, an average lead in the finance industry is $160. If you can get it for $10 or less, it's well worth it. Okay. Average lead cost in real estate is $55 per lead. Zillow leads used to cost $20 per realtor. I don't know what they are now, but they used to cost $20 per realtor. So think about that. Biz cards, opt-ins, lists, drawings, giveaways is the way we work. It's worth spending the time. That's why you see swag. But a lot of people improperly use swag. They get candy, pins, yada yada. Ugh. if I'm going to give away some swag, I want to be something that I'm going to be able to capture some information from, because their email, name, information is well worth it. Okay. And it's all in the follow up too. Deals and funding, deals that you're working through, and then funding opportunities is the two biggest hot buttons when it comes to email open rates and even webinar attendance. Most surveys will have like a 5 to 30% response rate. Well, if you send out a survey, you'll get a higher open rate if you do some of the following things, like send an email out within 48 hours. Whether you got business cards or the full registration list, make damn sure you get an email out within, I prefer 24 hours, not 48 hours. Okay. But how can we help you? What's your biggest needs? What are you focused on in the industry? We've got a big database. We've got a ton of connections. All right. One of the greatest things that is great is that we do get people opted in from a variety of things. I always say that, like, our podcast is an event. Me speaking on other people's podcast is an event that we get people that opt in from in a lot of cases. You're looking at joint venture or partner with stuff. It's also why it's important to have some sort of pitch deck or a video talking about what you do. A 10-minute video or not is something that you can share with your network, that they see what you're doing, and then it answers the majority of the questions. Okay. And we talk a lot about that with our coaching students. But anyway, number 11 is probably something that should have been higher on the list, is LinkedIn and using LinkedIn search. You can jump on LinkedIn right now and search for note investors, real estate investors, bank contacts, asset managers, all of the above, and narrow it down by states or cities, or just do a general search in the United States. Okay. Use it to search for private investors or IRA investors. Okay. While it's a smaller amount, there's still a lot of people that say they are real estate investors in there, which is a good enough list in different states. And then you can send them a direct message with a link to your pitch deck video and tell them what you're doing. Start a conversation. What are you looking to invest in? Are you still buying in Georgia or wherever you're located? That's the important thing, is just to start a conversation, not pitch slap them. We've all been that when somebody connects with us and they go in this like long paragraph. I don't do that. I'm like, hey, I see you're an investor in Texas. So am I. What are you buying? I'm just looking to connect with other investors. Very simple, very nonchalant. When they respond, then I respond back. So this is what I'm doing. Maybe you might find this interesting. If not, not a big deal. If you'd like to, I'd be glad to add you to my investor list. Okay. And you can use Octopus CRM to automate a lot of this stuff, but it's well worth it. Okay. Same thing. Like I said before, using LinkedIn to track the names that you pull from the self-directed IRA listers at the county records or the county appraisal district is a great thing as well. So it's kind of, we've mentioned it, but it's such a valuable tool. If you're not on LinkedIn, get your ass on LinkedIn. It's the 21st century, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't have a website, you got to have a LinkedIn profile. Seriously, spend some time on there. The more you spend on it, the more valuable it is. It's probably our number one social media tool for sure. Number 12 is Facebook groups. This can be a bit of a dumpster fire in some cases. Can be hit or miss, but look for activity. There are some groups that are moving a lot. There are a lot of groups that have been inactive. There's also some groups whose activity is maybe not what you want to click on. All right. Many don't want you to have any type of self-promotion, so be careful about sharing a webinar on there. You share other people's stuff. Hey, I found this valuable, thought maybe this was valuable. But I like to use case studies or pitch deck videos. Hey, I'm working on this deal, or hey, here's a deal that we're working through. That seem to do well. If you're doing an individual case study, try to keep it to 2 to 5 minutes with an ask at the end. Your pitch deck needs to be under 20 minutes, really needs to be under 10 minutes for the most part. Okay. But posting in large groups, hey, here's a deal that we're working on. Anybody interested? That's a great way to kind of harvest leads from the Facebook groups. Okay. Search for investing, private money, private funding. There's plenty of those bigger groups out there too. That's stuff. And sometimes even people will post stuff that has done well, and you have a lot of people that are like, oh, send me information. Well, guess what? Let's start harvesting names and emails. I hate to say it, but it happens. And then same thing. Hey, saw that you were in this group. I just wanted to reach out to you, see what you're looking for. You can do the exact same thing on LinkedIn groups. Same thing. Some can be hit or miss. I think more of the LinkedIn groups are better to connect with people through there than posting in a lot of the groups. Okay. Same thing. They avoid the self-promotion. But case studies and pitch deck videos do work well in the LinkedIn groups. And like I said, keep them short. You can search, there's some big groups, like 500,000 to 1 million members, that are really great for connecting with just about anybody you need to. So check that out. I think I'm part of like 50 LinkedIn groups. And I post probably in there once to twice a month. But I do go in there and I look at some of the members and try to connect with people directly, which comes in handy. Okay. If you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing out. It's literally the best way for networking. All right. Moving on up. Number 14, using audio and video. I know. What do I mean by this? It's the 21st century. You have to start thinking about marketing to the masses, but you also got to be careful about what you're doing. Okay. We use a lot of audio and video to find funding deals. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I'm talking about like video with YouTube videos. Okay. That's one thing. That works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 366 days a year for us by talking about a video. Like this video alone will go on YouTube and we'll probably get, I don't know, 200-300 views from it just on YouTube. But the fact that we share it to Facebook and LinkedIn, we'll get multiple hundred, probably 1,000 views on it in the first 24 hours. And it'll continue to cycle through views for us. Obviously, YouTube being the best use of that afterwards. Facebook, it'll drop off after 24 hours, but still, it's basically free to get the word out to your network. Okay. You just have to start taking action. Now, if you're afraid about being on camera, guess what? Just do PowerPoint. Another thing that we use as well is you can share the videos across the different planets and stuff like that. But podcast workouts, Clubhouse was big back in the day, or LinkedIn audio is another thing now. That's a great thing. People are listening to podcasts. If you can be on other people's podcasts, is a great thing. Another thing that we have done, if you've got text messaging, I can't remember if this is on the list or not, but sending a text blast out to your audience with a case study video, or even doing a voice drop. You got to be careful about that. You can't do it just to the blind audience out there, but doing a voice drop about what you're focused on. Hey, this is Scott Carson. If it's a warm list, it's going to work a whole lot better for you. Or ringless voicemail is what I mean by that. The video built rapport and trust. And, we started the short deal video back in 2011 using the Dell flip cameras. Remember those with a little USB port? It's recording me walking around deals, and that's led to capital coming in. We started using Facebook Live to build an audience for 24 to 40 hours of the podcast back in 2016. Or actually, 2017 is actually November 1st. It's hard to believe that. 125,000 views in 150 days. Okay. And the videos were from like 3 to 30 minutes. Not very long, and just being consistent. Okay. Now these days with Instagram Live and TikTok, there's a lot of video out there. Do it. Take your downloaded Facebook. If you do a Facebook Live, download it, upload it to YouTube to replay there. When we did a Facebook Live and upload to YouTube, we saw an additional 60,000 views in 12 months. And it also built a following on the second largest search engine of YouTube, which has now led to us being the #1 YouTube channel. But also YouTube videos rank pretty high in Google as well. And then, of course, you can always share the videos to LinkedIn as well. So what I'm talking about is not necessarily creating 8 videos. We're creating one video and sharing it in multiple places. Okay. And that's the whole idea. You have one video to the masses, and that mass video leads to one-on-one conversations. So many people try to do the one-on-one conversation at first, and that's great, but you're going to run out of energy. You need to learn one to the masses. Okay. It's just the way you got to do it. The old way of doing business is not smart. Audio side, like I said, we started our podcast. God, it's hard to believe that it's been that long, but we recycle all these YouTube videos. We send in emails to the investors, funding opportunities. We lever other people's podcasts. I've been on, try to be on 100 other podcasts every year. I didn't do much to this year, but still, I was doing 100 a year in 2019, 2020, 21. Slowed down a little bit last year and slowed down a little bit this year because we've been focused on a lot of other stuff. But still, it's like I'm speaking to a new audience every week. Somebody else's platform is a great thing. Clubhouse, we were using that, and that was okay. 30 minutes at lunch. I still listen in occasionally some of that stuff, but I also listen in more some of the Instagram or TikTok live stuff to help out with that. Okay. Number 15 can be a bit of a dumpster fire, but if you use it properly, it can actually work out pretty well. Some of our students have raised millions of dollars using BiggerPockets. Okay. You can use it with a free account. A paid account will give you a little bit more access, a little bit easier to do some things. Make sure you complete your profile with your face and info. Always on all these platforms, make sure you fill out your profile completely. But what I like to do with BiggerPockets is they allow you to do search keywords. And if you go on there and make your keywords 50K to invest, 75K to invest, 100K to invest, You get a lot of people that will go in and say, hey, I got 50K to invest. What should I do with it? That's prime information for you to reach out to the person. Hey, if you're looking, maybe you should check out what I'm doing. And that's what we do is we send them a pitch deck or case study, and that works really, really well. And you can DM up to 12 people per day. You got to tweak your message. It can't be a straight copy paste because BiggerPockets will shut you down. But you can direct message to 12 people a day. And you can actually go through and search. I don't spend a lot of time on this. I'll spend like maybe one day a week going through some of the different threads and see what people are posting, but I'll look at my keyword search and see who's actually posted it. And you'll find more than enough people on there. And then it's all about sending a connection and a message to them. Okay. And like I said, connecting outside of BP, track who you contact, put them in a spreadsheet, see where they're located, and then go to LinkedIn and see if they're on there. I've even had my VA go to the county appraisal networks to find mailing addresses, and you can add them to like your direct message postcard list. Okay. It's kind of a cool thing. But like I said, keep your pitch deck under 20 minutes. It's preferred to keep it under 10. And what I like to do when I share a link, I will create a custom link, a custom bit.ly link so I can track it and see how many people actually are watching that one link just for BP or just for YouTube or just for LinkedIn so I can track my views and know, okay, I shared this 20 times and 16 people clicked on it. That's a good thing. Okay. Several students have raised millions of dollars in funding partners on BP exclusively using this keyword search method. It works if you will just put it to work. Okay. Number 16, meetup groups are a great way as well. Obviously, if you go to meetup.com, it's free to join all over the place. There are some large meetups in your buying markets. This is one of the things we highly recommend if you're in, like I'm in Austin, Texas, but I buy a lot like in Columbus and Michigan and other areas of the country. Well, I will go join meetup groups in those bigger cities just so I have access to that network. Okay. And what you want to do is they used to allow it pretty easy for you to see who meetup groups that have a mailing list where you can mass email list. That's kind of gone away. All right. But they do have discussion boards where you can still post stuff to. All right. Now, I like to start new discussions on the discussion board, upload a short video. You can embed it, with case studies, and I can use Zoom or Animoto to upload that in there. Talk about the BAM to get people excited. Hey, we get this 50% REO deal that we're picking up, or you can share the same post in multiple groups. So just make sure you tweak it up a little bit because Meetup will get mad if you're posting the same thing in 3 more groups. Okay. I'll give you an example. We raised over $400,000 in 12 hours from doing this one thing. Okay. We had a San Antonio note deal. We needed 58K because that's what we were buying the note for, was at 50 plus a little bit of rehab money. And the house was worth 125. And it was great. It was buying the note, and we knew we'd get a deed in lieu from the borrower. So what do? We drove out, took a picture of the property. We did a short video of the deal. It's like 2.5 minutes. We posted it in 3 San Antonio area meetup groups. Okay. But we posted that after we walked the property, we pulled comps, and we knew the numbers, the new numbers, not what was previous, but we actually knew what the numbers were. Okay. And we posted in these 3 groups. 12 people contacted me to either fund it or buy the deal in 12 hours. Okay. And 5 people sent proof of funds. And even though, so here's the thing, I had a funding source lined up for this, but I always get a backup. Okay. So 5 people sent proof of funds, knowing they were going to be in a backup range, because I said, hey, I've got somebody already beat you the punch, but if you want to, I can contact you on what? The next deal. Okay. And all 5 of those people funded future deals with me. And they range anywhere from like 20 grand to 75 grand. All right. And they all made like 8% on their money, which is great. They were happy. I was happy. But this is a deal. This is something that we're in a specific area. This is something we still do. It works if you know how to do it. Number 17, title companies are a great source. If you're in an area buying property in a specific area or foreclosing selling property, get to know a local title rep. If you don't know, go to your local meetup groups and ask for, hey, who's a title rep or company to work with, a top performing as a top closer. Like here in Texas, we have something called the Platinum Top 50, which is an independent ranking service that tells you the best closing agents or the reps, stuff like that. That's a good kind of starting point. Title reps and closers are the best connected people in real estate. They know all the realtors, all the mortgage brokers, all the big folks. You ever need a resource for something like that? The builders, these are the people. I mean, I'm connected like 3 or 4 here in Austin still communicate with them. All right. Tracy Murphy is one gal I've known for, golly, 15 years, still friends. And she reaches out every once in a while to me, and I reach out every once in a while to her. Okay. You can also research this at your local board of realtors, and they have different annual awards too. If they're on the Platinum Top 50, but take the rep to lunch or dinner, take them out for drinks. They like networking. They like this side. They're actually paid. A lot of the reps are to pay to go do this. So build a relationship with them. Hey, what are you doing? This is what we're trying to do. They may close notes, owner finance or subject to deals on residential commercial deals. They may not do that creative stuff. That's okay. They maybe can refer you to an attorney that will do that creative stuff. But the beautiful thing is that they know people. And I always ask, hey, do you know who's anybody's lending money? You have any private investors that are looking to lend money? Because they will often will have 5 or 6 people that they work with on a regular basis. They may not give you their information immediately, but they will say, hey, let me reach out to my guy and see if it's okay to give you their information. And that's good enough. This has worked in every city I've ever went to. All right. When I used to go out and coach real estate investors, when I worked for Bob Lee, Nenny, Jimmy Kayla, and even Lee Arnold back in the day, I don't know, I went out to 50, 60 different cities over like a 3-year period. And we would always meet with the title rep. And title rep always had 3 to 5 people that had private capital, not hard money lenders, but private funding sources. Okay. Buyers list is another great way to raise capital, find funds. Buyers equals funders, and everybody, as I say, is a funding source. Okay. You can either create your own list in a CRM of buyers, or you can look for other people's buyers lists, like people that have posted on LinkedIn or Facebook or social media posts, like wholesalers. There's a lot of, hey, I got a deal available for them. Like there's a realtor out of New Braunfels who posted on LinkedIn, hey, I got apartment complexes in San Antonio, Austin, Houston, who are my buyers. And you know, a lot of people that comment. I'm like, well, I want to connect with those people. Okay. If they listed their email, copy and paste their name, email, and phone number, and then just send them a warm email. Hey, I saw that you posted this. Do you mind if I add you to my buyers? Some people will say no, and that's okay. Don't be afraid to ask what they're buying. What are they buying? Where are they buying? What type of returns are they looking for? Because if they're looking for a specific return, hey, if I can show you that passively for 2 to 3 years in a deal, would that be something that interests you? And then it's important to know what area they're buying in or what states. If you can find a deal in their area, they're much more likely to fund that deal because they're familiar with the numbers or familiar with that asset. Okay. And that's the important thing. Now, when I say going shopping here, when you ask, what are you looking for? That's the key. When somebody tells you I'm looking for, I can get a 12% return or an 8% return on my money in these states, guess what? Keep track of your buyers list. One thing that we have in our CRM, our customer relationship management software, is their top 3 markets. By top 3 markets, I put what states. Okay. And not including the state they live in. Okay. What are your top 3 markets outside of your home state? And then I also like to ask, what's their strategy? Is it to fund deals? Is it apartments? Is it wholesaling? Is it buying first liens? Is it fix and flip rentals? There's a whole variety of things. Now you can use like a survey, like SurveyMonkey or Google Sheets, to gauge this information so they fill out more information. Jot forms is a great source as well too. But I use LinkedIn as a starting point, and I leverage Octopus to create these variety lists and then reach out and ask them. And when they respond back, I can either put it in manually when they respond, or if they don't mind, say, hey, do you mind? I've got a buyer's list. Would you mind filling this out online? So it automates it for it. And they like that. Okay. Number 19, other investors, people you have fun with. Who do you know? Everybody's a funding source. If you only got 50K to fund a deal and I need 100, do you know anybody else that might be interested? Some people are actually better at raising capital versus finding deals, and that's quite all right. And approach these investors to split deals with you. If somebody's helping you raise capital, make them part of the process. Give them a percentage of the deal. Have their investors fund their deal. Okay. If it's a specific amount, like 250 or more, you could do like a JV deal and split it with them with separate LLC. Pay them a flat marketing fee. Okay. You might need to create a special purpose LLC with stuff. There's never want to pool money together with other people. One investor per one trade. Okay. Now, what happens if you got like 3 people that are friends that want to fund deal? Make them go create an LLC, put their money in an LLC, and then borrow the money from the LLC. So You'll need, if you're going to partner with somebody on an LLC and have them in the LLC with you, so if you just borrow from them, you'll need to create an operating agreement that outlines your activities and who's in charge. And you'll want to make sure you've got 51%, not 50-50. Okay. Some more things about other investors. Use your list of financial friends, people you've met, networking, real estate clubs, conferences. Everybody really is a financial friend. Okay. Same thing. If you've got a self-directed IRA, you can have your self-directed IRA partner with their IRA, which is a great way to do things. And then the profits on that deal are going to be split as a percentage of investment contributed. So let's say you got 25K and somebody's got 75K, and your two IRAs partner to buy 100K asset. Well, if you make 100K in profit, your IRA would get 25% because you're 25% of the investment amount, and the other person would get 75% of the profit because they're 75%. So that's one thing basically to do it. Okay. And yes, you can use a Roth, a traditional, an educational savings account, an HSA, solo 401k, and SEP IRAs all can be used to partner with. You're going to need to have the IRA custodian sign off on the docs paperwork. Pretty easy to do. A lot of those are pretty simple to put together. But like I said, network with other investors that you like and trust. We've got an investor qualification form or questionnaire we always like to have people fill out, make sure they're the right fit for what we do. But you also want to consider using like a third party services like an attorneys or servicing company to help collection and distribution of the funds or the money. Okay. Number 20, another great way people probably forget about these are wholesalers or brokers. You know, wholesalers can be a great source for finding funds because they've got a list of buyers. Why not use it to fund? And I always, when I get somebody says, "Oh, I want to get into wholesaling," it's like, "Well, do you have a list?" "Oh, yeah, I've been wholesaling real estate for a while." I was like, "Well, that's a list of funders right there for you. Just tweak your marketing look." Okay. You know, if you're going to send something out, make sure you've got the contact information going to you, not the wholesaler. Or if it's going to something else, make sure you use a custom link that you can capture that information. I'll pay wholesalers a flat fee for funding on deals. You know, usually 1% of the funding amount if they're raising capital is what we do. You still need to vet the investor, and I still go through a 3-step process. Let's talk. Let's make sure you're a right fit. You know, it's always important to build rapport with the investors. Okay, and buyers are funders. If the deal makes sense, and they can make a great return without having to do any work, who wouldn't want to be in on the deal? And if you've got an asset, look for wholesalers in that local market. Look for your wholesalers at your meetup groups. They often have a good list of people locally that you can maybe market to. Pay them a fee to send out an email blast. Okay. Now, experienced brokers actually rock. There are commercial brokers are different from like residential brokers. Residential agents are not bad, but commercial brokers are, if you're dealing with commercial real estate, they are phenomenal. Okay. Now, look for experience. Don't go with the brand new commercial agent. They may be just brand new and went 2 behind years, but an experienced broker as well. Like I said, talk to your title reps, and even ask your commercial title reps for a referral to a good commercial broker. Search for the CCIM designation. That means they've got more experience than often investors themselves. They often specialize in specific asset classes and investors in that asset class. I'll ask them if they know of investors looking to fund a deal, and I'll pay a marketing bonus of up to 3% on the funding amount because they may not be able to be involved in the deal. But it's also a great way to add experience to your team. Say, hey, our team, our commercial broker, our residential broker, make yourself look bigger than you actually are because you really are. It's all, especially in the note business and real estate, it's all about who your team of experts are that you turn to. You don't have to do it all yourself. Rely on your team to make things happen. So, there are any questions out there? That's the 20 different ways to find funding. As I said before, we do have an upcoming class here in the next couple days for you to jump in on. If you go to notebuyingfordummies.com, let me just actually jump on here and share that with you real fast, if that's okay. Pretty easy to go to notebuyingfordummies.com. This will take you directly to the page for our website. You can see virtual note buying workshop. It's the 8th through the 10th. This coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you're watching this after the event, go there. You'll see when the next workshop is. And if you can RSVP your spot now for just $4.95 per person. It's going to ask you for a code. Type in NNA for Note Night in America. And that'll drop it down to the 50% off. It's usually normally $9.97, but if you type in NNA, it'll give you the discount. All right. So and then it'll give you the class. And like we said, we'll have our next class for that February 2024. 3 days of content. If you'll get the replays, a 200-page manual, and just a lot of great information. A full day on funding, on finding deals, on funding deals, on exit strategies and due diligence as well. So it's a packed 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with yours truly teaching all 3 days. So you can sign up for that at notebuyingfordummies.com and use the code NNA to get a discount. All right. If there's not any other questions or comments, I want to thank you for joining me here on Note Night America. I hope you go out and have a great week. We look forward to seeing the workshop. And don't be afraid of raising funds. Funding is actually pretty easy if you'll just put some of these things to work a little at a time and focus on doing a little bit each day. Funding is really easy. There's a lot of money out there. There's a sea of wealth out there. There's no reason you can't have some that go into your deals in your pocket as well. So go out, take some action, everybody, and we'll see you at the top.